Well, the thing is, it's not the thing on the left about uplifting women and, not attacking or harassing women. That only stands for women that share the same leftist ideology. It doesn't actually mean that there's support for conservative women. Emma Jo, I think that you've probably seen this as well.
Well, of course. I mean, I remember, like, when we were doing the Hunter stuff, we were talking about it, and I was thinking about, obviously what the backlash would be, and I was thinking about it, and I, check all these boxes for the people that kind of, come after you with the pitchforks. And I was thinking, okay, I'll be home free because I'm exactly who they would want to uplift, and I'm breaking a story, and it's a big story, and I'm a young woman, and, I'm an immigrant. And
which story was it specifically, just for people who don't know?
I broke the Hunter Biden laptop story. That was my scoop, and I went through the laptop, and I wrote all the articles leading up to the election that got the New York Post kicked off Twitter and Facebook.
So
you broke the internet, basically.
I can just imagine that all of the Democrats were cheering, like, here's a prominent female journalist proving that, shattering the glass ceiling.
I wasn't going that far, but I was thinking that they wouldn't attack me personally. I obviously figured they would go after the story, but I figured that I kind of fall into a lot of their protected classes that you often see, and I wasn't expecting that the backlash would be so personal because of that.
Oh, dude, these people, man, they're nasty people.
But listen, what you were saying about Cassandra, I don't know about her opinions, nor do I care, because it shouldn't really matter. It should be about the work that she does and what she produces for you, I would think. And that was something that came out from the whole thing with, after we broke the internet, and after, the New York Times came after me, and Washington Post and Joy Reid and NPR and whatever, all the polite people, and the Post didn't even wince. That not only were they expecting it, and not only did they not care, but they were just kind of looking at the story on its merits, and whatever the people were looking at on my Instagram of pictures from when I worked at Fox, that was one thing that they were pulling up, that I'm a Trump apparatchik, because I used to work at Fox, and I had all these pictures from when I just got out of school. I was like 23, and I was meeting all these Trump people who were coming to Fox and taking pictures and posting them, and that was supposed to be proof that I was like a political hack. And the employer didn't care, because at the end of the day, it's like, what work are you doing? And if we're going to appease like a Twitter mob that they come and go like the wind, and it's you can't run a business that way. And that's why trying to cancel me personally didn't work, and that's why it won't work. It won't work with any business that doesn't bend to it, because if you just don't care, it just passes like a storm.
Right. I think conservatives also need to stop thinking that these people have legitimate complaints. So for whatever reason, I think people on the right, anti-establishment, whatever you want to call it, because there's certainly liberals who are anti-woke, anti-establishment as well, although many of them are becoming conservative. They seem to think that these people maybe are just misguided, and that if we just have a conversation calmly and rationally, they'll change their minds. That's just absolutely not true. It's just not the case. It is so divergent right now. The political factions in this country, there's a bunch of different ones. Some are aligned with others. But the gap between those people who are screaming at you and calling you a Russian agent or whatever, and sane, normal people, there's no bridge. There's no words you can say. There's no convincing them. And many of them probably know they're nasty, evil, disgusting, vile people. They're trolls who go on. Look at Chrissy Teigen, for instance, right? Teigen or whatever her name is. She had that tweet where this guy was begging her, please take down that fake post. I never said those words. And she's like, too bad. You're a racist, and I'm going to watch you burn. They know they're evil. They know it.
Well, they think they're entitled because they think that they're right. And they think that they're right because they never examine their views. They don't examine the undercurrents that are holding their perspectives in place. And they would find that they're not there. I mean, these liberal ideologies are like shifting sands. You stand in one place and then suddenly you're somewhere else, because there's no stability underneath these, there's no foundations to it. So if we're not consistently and constantly examining our belief systems to try and understand what we believe and why, I say this all the time, then we have nothing. Then we have nothing at all.
I don't think it's a belief system.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it's that sincere. I think it's like a character. It's a personality. It's somebody who's ready to take a bludgeon and hit whoever's in front of them. I mean, come on. This isn't like about morality. It's about having, like, Chrissy Teigen it's about having the right to push somebody around and get praise for it. But like you said, it's like shifting sands. There's no continuity. There's no like.
I think they just think
there's
they're
no.
right. You don't think so? I think they think that they have a moral superiority about it.
I think that that's a shroud, and that's something that's used to like get props for what they're doing. But I think underneath that, it's just more about control and I don't want to use the word. It's about bullying. I think
arsonist.
Yeah.
They take pleasure in destruction. So those direct messages that got released showing Chrissy Teigen's messages. The story, I guess, basically is this guy was accused of being racist because someone photoshopped him saying, I guess, the N-word. And Chrissy Teigen...
That's okay when you're Hunter Biden, though.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, so Chrissy Teigen posts an image, I guess, on Instagram or something like that. He messages her saying, please, I never said those things. It's a fake photo. Like, this is destroying me. And he was having suicidal ideation. And she's just laughing. She's like, ha, 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 I don't care. Screw you. You're racist. You deserve it. But he didn't actually say those things. She doesn't care. She comes out later and admits, yeah, I was a troll. I was screwing with people. It is what it is. These are just evil people who enjoy watching others suffer.
I don't think it's even evil. I think it's like an insecure husk. You know, like if you think about like who does that? It's people who need a source of like feeling good about themselves that doesn't come from anything other than kind of like imposing whatever they're doing and then getting likes for it.
I mean, watching someone suffer and laughing about it, that's like that feels evil to me.
Well, a lot of this
is
the
definition of mirth.
Yeah.
Mirth is taking joy in someone else's pain.
A lot of this is also surrounding narcissism and ego, and what we were talking about earlier, these social media algorithms that incentivize it and reward it. If you look at what gets promoted, what gets talked about, what the algorithm pushes on the general public, it's usually drama, it's usually fighting, it's usually putting someone down, and it's promoting the larger divide and conquer agenda that makes people want to attack each other and not really truly look at the true cause of their problems in their lives. So I think, there is an element of evil. Cats torture animals for some reason. There is an element of just that. There is an element of business incentive, knowing that you're going to get more followers, more retweets, more likes if you do start that drama. And I think there's also even a bigger agenda, possibly even above that, pushing people to hate each other and fight each other, that also, again, psychologically people are doing without even knowing that they're doing it themselves.
There's this viral thread from some like crackpot guy who's like, fascism is back, here's proof. And it was the story about Ron DeSantis banning critical race theory in Florida. And then he just like creates this weird version of reality where what Ron DeSantis is doing is comparable to what the Nazis did, I guess, which makes no sense. And then he's like, the Nazis were banning, knowledge and books, and this is it, it's happening. And it's like, bro, you guys have been banning books for years. Like Amazon literally bans, burning books. And these people genuinely are freaking out, waving their arms, and they are screaming that fascists are taking over. It is kind of funny when you think about the right, when they were like, the cultural Marxists and the communists are taking over. And it's like, the thing is, there's an objective reality. And if you watch CBS and Fox News, you'll get a hard dose of reality and say, I kind of understand what's happening. The thing is, conservatives, according to at least one study, I cite a million in one time. I've cited 1,000,001 times. Conservatives do read about a third of their news from mainstream liberal sources. Moderates read about a third of their news from conservative sources. Liberals, 95 to 100% of their news comes from liberal news sources. That's
exactly what happens. When I talk to liberals that I know, the ones that are still talking to me, which are not that many, I'm mostly just in my family. They don't really have a choice. But anyway, they don't see the same news that I see at all. There's nothing to connect it.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch.
There was this guy who got, he's like a Call of Duty gamer, I guess. And someone, he tweeted about a video about something political, and he was like, this is crazy. What's happening? Someone said, hey, you should read Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, and watch Timcast. And then he said something like absurd about me that was based on grifters who will like pull clips from the show, take them out of context, and then repackage them. And there was a story about Democrats and segregation or something. I can't remember exactly which segment they were talking about. But he said, it's not true. It's clearly a lie, and I won't even watch the video. And then I mentioned something about Democrats, even at the federal level, signing on to repeal the anti-discrimination, the anti-racial discrimination policies from their constitution in California. All of these Democrats, like even at the national level, were saying to California, like, yes, we agree with you removing your anti-discrimination provision in your own constitution. so that they could implement racial policies in universities, which is that we've seen segregated dorms, we've seen race-based selection for schools. So that I always tell people what the Democrats want to do with universities is there's a kid whose skin is too much of one color, and so they tell him you can't go to the school. You look too much like those other people. That's literally what their plan is. This guy responds with, "Well, why haven't I seen that story?"
Well,
I'm
because
like,
you're
yeah.
not looking for it, guy.
Well, if
You're
all
not
you're reading is fake news, like at this point, it is so painfully obvious that the mainstream media is just like more than half lies. I'm not going to say it's all lies. There's a lot of really basic stuff. I mean, we're reading a lot of this news right now. Clearly, the video of the guy shoplifting, that story from MarketWatch, is a real story. You can watch the video. But when it comes to politics, it's just word vomit. They just make up trash.
Well, they are making up trash. And I think that you mentioned DeSantis banning critical race theory in schools. And that gets picked up by, your attacker, Joy Reid, and other people by and they're saying that they're banning the actual teaching that slavery existed. And, and it's like none of that is true. And if you actually look at the bills that are coming up in these legislatures, they're saying things like you cannot teach that one race or ethnicity is better than another.
Right.
It's like doubling down on actual anti-discrimination policy. And the thing too is critical, another thing that's coming out now is this idea that critical race theory is not being taught, and the left is like, no, critical race theory isn't being taught. That's not what's going on. And no, critical race theory is not being taught. It's being embedded in pedagogy. It's being completely, linked in with every aspect of curriculum so that you can't take it out. It's not that it's being taught, it's being indoctrinated. There's a difference.
No, but the thing that's such a troll now is like Nicole Hannah-Jones, or is that her name, 1619?
Yeah,
she's
her.
On Twitter like, this is why, because it's starting to be banned, and that's now proof that it's all true.
But you were completely right. It's indoctrination, and so if they want to teach about critical race theory, great. Why are we teaching fifth graders about an academic college level theory? What they're actually doing is teaching the ideology of it. But more importantly, like you were saying, when they come out and they're like, no one's teaching this, technically they're telling the truth.
They are telling the truth.
There was this really great meme image I saw. I shouldn't say it's a meme. It went viral. It was an image from a workbook from a grade school. You know the old trope of the school math question: a train leaves Pittsburgh traveling at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, I saw this.
A train leaves Cincinnati traveling at 40 miles an hour. If they're this far apart, how long until they crash or whatever? There was this problem that was getting shared around, and it showed a picture of a white guy and a black guy. And it said, John is a white man who has been stopped by the police 3 times in the past year. Harold is a black man who's been stopped 394 times. If the difference is like, what's the percentage of times the black man has been harassed by police? Something like that. Like, that's indoctrination.
It sure is.
Totally unrelated things that are using the cult ideology in just like you were mentioning, right? In math problems that are unrelated. That's how they get around.
It's in math problems, it's in art classes, it's in history, it's in literature, it's in literally every aspect of it. And when they're done with, embedding critical race theory and everything, they're also pushing in climate alarmism as well. Not to take anything away from climate change being a thing, but teaching kids what opinions to have before you give them facts about what's going on that's indoctrination.
You know what that is. When it comes to the climate change stuff, I think the global elites are betting on winning because they're buying beachfront property. Right. So they're basically telling everybody like, hey, if all of you give up all of your luxuries, we'll save the world. Buy the beachfront in Miami. Because their bet is if we make all the poor people own nothing, we get our private jets, we get our yachts, we get our beachfront property. That's the plan, baby.
There was this hysterical thing that happened yesterday where in New Zealand there's a schools climate strike, school strike for climate. It's like the Greta Thunberg thing, and there's branches everywhere. So the Auckland branch of the school strikes for climate decided that they were going to completely disband. They were formed in 2019, but there's too much systemic racism in their group of 8 to 18-year-olds. So they've decided to completely disband, stop dealing with the climate thing at all, and only uplift the Black, Indigenous people of color who are working to do it. So all the white people are like, you know what? we can't possibly do this work because we're not you. So y'all do this work. And we'll pump you on social media, okay? And that's how we know we're anti-racist.
That's amazing. It's like
amazing.
We burned down your neighborhood in riots, and we think you should rebuild it because it's yours.
It's yours. You guys deal with it. You guys know better than us. So we're gonna go sit over here and be worthless white people.
We got. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.